to the Hallmarkies podcast. We are so excited today. We have a very special guest, and it's just me, Rachel, today, because Amber is busy, and we have very excited to talk to Eric Mabius. This is so cool. All the postables are going to be thrilled. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us on our little podcast.
I'm so excited. We just aired our latest installment of Signed, Sealed, Delivered, and we had a tweet storm that was unlike any we had before. It was very exciting.
Yeah. The Postables are a passionate group. They love their movies, and it was a good one.
Yeah. Did you watch?
Yes, I watched it, and I loved it. It was really good.
Oh, great.
What we like to do when we have guests is we like to ask you to just introduce yourself and to tell us what inspired you to become an actor.
Hello, my name is Eric Mabius. I play Paul the Row Tool on Signed, Sealed, Delivered and Hallmark. What inspired me to be an actor? Probably a number of things. One of them, first and foremost, being that my parents were really big movie buffs when I was a child. I grew up in the 70s, so we didn't have access to VCRs or DVDs, things like that. But we did have drive-in theaters, which is something that I still am pretty passionate about, and I miss being able to go to. There still is one up near where I live part of the year in Massachusetts, which is very exciting for us. They have a double feature, usually something for the kids, which is funny because that's kind of what it was when I was a kid. There'd be the first movie and it would be something fun, and then hopefully the kids would fall asleep and something for the parents after that. And that's kind of how I remember catching my first glimpses of movies that I shouldn't have, but movies that made an indelible impression. One of them being Richard Harris in A Man Called Horse. I will never forget that. When they're performing the sun ceremony and they have the eagle talon through his pectoral muscles. That's something burned into my brain, but there was something about that, not to be too graphic, but it was just the transformative effect of cinema for me, but also the event of going to that place. You know, when you want to express a certain thing, one goes to church or a place of worship. You know, the drive-in theater certainly is a ritual, or was a ritual, and certainly a place where you honor, I think, cinema in such a specific way. And also the trips that my mom takes on to New York once in a while to see Broadway shows. There was something sort of, I couldn't, obviously, as a child, I couldn't quite put my finger on, but I couldn't quite understand how a person could be one thing and also another. And I think there was something completely magical to me in that. And that's still sort of, which is why I love being an audience member. I love being able to suspend disbelief, to sit there and be almost childlike when you experience something that's really done well and transports you to another place.
Yeah,
that's a very long answer to your question.
No, I appreciate it. No, it's very good. I remember something similar as far as just that theatrical experience that really you never forget. When I was 10, going to see Beauty and the Beast at the Villa Theater in Salt Lake that had a balcony, and it was there's that special experience. I mean, it's such a special movie. But that was a big one for me. Yeah. Yeah,
and I love that because everyone has their equivalent experience of that, which is so great. You know, when Star Wars came out in the theater, I was probably, I think it was 6. But my parents were so caught up in it, we watched it, and then we got back and saw it again right away. It was the only time I think we ever did that in our lives. That's one of those wonderful, feverish kind of nights.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I also remember seeing Home Alone. That was another very influential one for me, and just thinking it was the most hilarious movie I ever seen in my life, and I still think it's funny.
You know, it's funny as well. Whenever it's on TV, we can't go past it. It's a must.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's great. So, okay. So I wanted to talk to you about your character on Ugly Betty, Daniel. And I was curious, what was special about playing Daniel?
What was special? The writing was outstanding. I think I feel like Sylvia Orta did an unparalleled job on that show. It was again, SSD for many different reasons, and the specific circumstances and the actors and the place and time. But to have the caliber of actors that we did on Ugly Betty, every single person could have led that show, and we were a true ensemble. And I just thought there was an immeasurable amount of talent in my co-stars, and the writing, and the sort of unbridled glee that we would have going to work every day. It was a unique experience for me up until that point in my life, and the fact that there was such recognition from critics and audiences to stand on the stage. It's one of those out-of-body experiences to stand on stage at the Golden Globe Awards and looking down, and in the front rows there's Brad Pitt, there's Leo DiCaprio, there's Beyonce and Jay-Z and Prince, and you're standing on stage, and next to you is your girlfriend on the show and your executive producer, Salma Hayek, and you're holding a Golden Globe in your hand. I don't know how. I mean, other than going to Prince's house for the after party, I don't know how one could ever hope for anything better in one's life. I mean, not that this is about accolades, but it certainly is an incredible icing on the cake.
Sure. That would be really amazing. I can't even imagine what that would be like. On the surface, it seems like Daniel and Oliver are very different characters, but I'm just curious if you saw any similarities between them.
I don't. Well, I mean, to the extent that we are all people trying to do our best with the tools that we're given. I mean, there's the basic, I think, humanity parallels, but I think they couldn't have been any more different.
Yeah.
Although, like in general, like men, people in general, but men trying to act a certain way, but not having the experience or the teaching to fill those shoes. As we've gone along in Oliver's character, he's really, there was certainly substance, but it was hidden, and it was a lot of form without that substance. As he comes to grips with the fact that his biological father put him up for adoption, and that Joseph, who raised him, was not his real father, but in the end, he realized that he was. Right. And Daniel was struggling with a father who was absent and tried to bully him and didn't give him love. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say parallels, just to the extent that they're all human beings trying to do the best that they can with the tools that they were or weren't given.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, so I actually love your Hallmark TV movie, How to Fall in Love. It's one of my favorites. Yes.
Yeah, I love that. Bart Fisher wrote that. He was an executive. That was the first script he wrote.
Oh, really?
For Hallmark. Yeah. And now he's just a full-time writer. I mean, not just, but he's, interestingly, he's decided to become a full-time writer. That was a really fun script and a great co-star.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's one of the best non-Christmas movies. I really do. I am not just saying that because I am interviewing you. But Amber and I both really love it. And
it's goofy and sweet and genuine. And, we keep talking about doing a sequel. It'd be fun.
Really? Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah. Well, just you should just let Bart Fisher know and he'll write it.
Oh, we'll be on it for sure.
Okay. Yeah, he's great.
We will be on it on Twitter. Yeah, that would be really great. We would love that. And I feel like Harold in that one is more more similar to Oliver.
Again, I know two people are the same, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that again, I try and find all you can do is find the humanity in these people, and Harold was wounded by something that happened to him early on, and we all have something that shaped us during our formative years. So there are parallels, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Like Daniel's character, having his brother die only to come back as a woman, and a father who wasn't there. He was doing the best again. I think the same with Harold, and there's such an evolution. That's why, people don't understand sometimes about these scripts. They may not be true to life, but there's certainly, there's something that everyone can relate to, because we are all, in essence, feeling like we're in over our heads or fish out of water at one point in our lives. And if we're not, then we're not in touch with being human, I think.
Well, I think both Harold and Oliver have a certain degree of social awkwardness that Daniel, let's say, didn't seem to have as much.
Well, again, Daniel, that was a lot of, he was acting as if.
Yeah.
And, there were times where he really was with his feelings early on. I mean, Betty taught him how to be more fully human. He was completely awkward in so many ways because he wasn't given those basic tools in life.
That's true. That's a
good
good point.
She helped him become more complete as a person.
Yeah.
That's why I loved, the ending was, without going into the unfortunate details of the ending of the show, which devastated everyone, surprised everyone. I felt like the ending of Ugly Betty was really a starting point. That's why I'm hoping we'll come back for more SSDs, because here we are finally pulling back some of these layers of Oliver and laying his soul more to bear because of the relationship that Shane and Oliver have developed, that he's become more fully human, and that this is really a jumping off point, starting to figure out how to take on the future together.
Well,
if they get married, and when they get married, and what, all the foibles that come with. It's sort of like he's been a boy man up until this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now he's grown into.
Really curious to see him as them as a true couple. I would be really excited to see that, and what Martha would do in the story. So I hope so. All right.
She would do an incredible job.
Yeah.
I'm so amazed. Yeah. Every time we come to the table thinking, okay, we can expect a lot of twists and turns, and where we start is never where we end up. But every time we sit down to do our read through, she gets everyone, usually during the course of our read through, she gets at least, usually everyone breaks down at one point, which is still amazing after 5 years of doing this.
Right. Let's dive into Signed, Sealed, Delivered. And now, and so how do you think that Oliver has grown as a character through the series and the movies and everything like that?
Well, I think he's learned incredible lessons of letting go in general. I think by slowly allowing their friendship to develop and the relationship to develop, I think the audience has earned a relationship that has a real strong foundation. I think that he has learned not to take himself so seriously, and has learned to let go of a lot of the pain that he's carried around with him, the issues of his father, the issues of his failed marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And, when there were just three there, it was somehow off balance. And the fact that there are four in the office, it feels much more grounded for a number of reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Besides just the obvious.
Silly question, but do you have to drink the Yoo-hoo? Do you
No,
like
no.
that?
No, no, that would be horrible. It's sorry, nothing against you. It's just not. I'm actually pretty annoyingly healthy when it comes to most of the things I eat.
Yeah.
And I would probably be sick if I had to drink that 50 times in a take. It's chocolate almond milk. It's fine.
Okay.
It's bearable.
Because I think the U is disgusting. I don't like it, so I was wondered.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, I used to like it, but that's when your palate shifts. Obviously, I can't even stand milk chocolate now. I eat so much dark chocolate. But anyway,
That's
it's just
funny.
a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is fun. It's like some things you have because it reminds you of, like I introduced my boys to fluff. I mean, fluff is a great thing when you're a kid, but it's just one bite and kind of done.
Right.
Like Twinkies. Like Twinkies are great. You have one bite and I'm all set.
Right. Your sugar for the year is done. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's funny.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
So, how do you think that Oliver's faith has impacted his character? And it's so hard to make. I think characters with faith make them not feel heavy-handed. And so, I was curious, how do you think that Martha is able to find that balance?
It's not. I don't think it's something she struggles with, because after all is said and done, wherever you are, whatever you believe in, if you are trying to shove that down someone's throat, then what you're doing is projecting your insecurities in your own faith.
Right.
I don't know if that makes any sense. So if you have your belief system, that's yours. No one can take that away from you. That's something that's very, very specific and very personal between you and your higher power. Right. And that's all there is to it as far as I'm concerned. So Martha, it's not a struggle for her because she is very firm. Her faith runs as deep as in anyone I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. I was raised in a pretty religious household. My uncle used to be a priest and my aunt used to be a nun, but it was nice to be raised in an environment of spirituality. But religion, in terms of organized religion, it's really, people's specific choice. I don't need to get into too much of that, but I think if it's real, it's grounded in the real, that's what resonates with people. And Martha has that. It just comes out of her. She is the real deal. And I think all things sort of emanate from that in these characters. And I don't know if that answers your specific question in terms of Oliver, but there's no other way. She's got a bright light. It shines. And I think it comes through Oliver. There's a certain amount of her grandfather that she puts into Oliver. And it makes my job easier and more difficult at the same time, because there is so much gravitas there, but it's also the faith that she's placed in me to do that. It fortifies me in a really deep place, and allows all that stuff to flow right out of me.
Yeah, that's really great. I think what helps it is that there's never a sense of judgment with it, and sometimes in faith-based properties, they're trying so hard to be ministering, which is I can understand that sometimes they can end up becoming judgmental of people that aren't accepting of that ministry. And the
problem is that people don't learn from the past. Like it's okay to have incredible faith, but when you try and judge others or force it down someone else's throat, it does your belief system a disservice.
Yeah.
It cheapens it. It takes away all of its power. I'm believe it or not, I'm showing my sons. We've been watching the Waltons from the beginning.
Right.
And the show started before I was born, I think, but I watched it in reruns. And every episode, they deal with issues of faith, but they deal with it in such a way because the Mrs. Walton, I forget her first name now, but she's very judgmental and very God-fearing and very conservative, and her husband is so much more tolerant. And every single episode is about never turning a stranger who comes to your door away, about never judging someone who has different beliefs than you, or someone who looks different than you. Or, I mean, it's the second episode after the pilot. It's called The Carnival. I'm almost all the way through it. It's funny you asked me that, because it's just that. Literally, a circus is a carnival is in town. The owner runs away with all the money, and a bunch of the performers are left there struggling. So they're hiding out in barns and trying to steal, beg, borrow for food. And the police come around and say, "Be careful, lock your doors. These strangers are here." But they show up. The tall man, the little person, the woman who does a risque dance act, the person who smokes. There's a roundabout way of saying that Liv. I think it's Liv. Is so judgmental, and her husband says, "This is not what we believe in. It doesn't matter if they look different, or that they smoke, or that they drink, and we don't. We can't turn them away. We can't cast them out, or else we're hypocrites."
Right.
And I think we keep forgetting that. This is what I'm getting back to, the point, which is, how can you be judgmental? I mean, if you believe, if you're Christian, how can you turn someone away? You feel more superior because you think that your way of worshiping is better, so then that allows you to treat someone like they're less than human. I mean, I think we keep forgetting the lessons that we're taught.
Well, and I think
it's all because of fear.
Yeah.
It's fear.
Yeah. Well, and I think that is what's so great about Shane and Oliver's relationship, because Oliver's never judgmental of Shane. And I love the Christmas movie. I think that movie is so great, about both of them, kind of all the characters, even in that movie, really, I think, come to these beautiful places of understanding of like what Christmas means, and what faith means, and what like dealing with their hurt from childhood, which I think most of us have. I love that movie. I think it's so good.
Yeah, I do too. And I think I really hope that they ask Martha to write another Christmas movie, because I mean, in essence, most of these movies that she's writing can be shown at Christmas because of the themes that are addressed in each one.
Agreed. Anyway. Do you have a favorite of the episodes or the movies that you like the best?
It's hard, because I like certain aspects. It's like, and my opinion changes sort of depending on my mood. But I really, I'm a huge Jimmy Stewart fan, and my Mr. Smith Goes to Washington moment and The Impossible Dream is one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, that one's a good one. Yeah.
There was something so resonant, especially even though we were in different political times, that it's still, it's especially relevant nowadays, where for the sake of trying to be right, or people being ill-equipped to negotiate across the aisle, that it's put a lot of people in danger. As a parent, it's a lesson that I have to learn all the time. It's not, it's not about being right. It's about treating people around you with respect, and that golden rule that everyone seems to forget when it comes to politics nowadays, that there is a common level of decency that is absent. And we're sending this generation right now a really horrible message, I think.
Yeah, agreed. Well, why do you think that Shane and Oliver have such good chemistry as a couple?
Because they're so different, and they're each so convinced that they're right. And in spite of that, they let those hang-ups slip away just in one another's presence. Again, Shane has taught Oliver to relax and smell the roses. And I also think that Oliver's taught Shane that it's okay to trust and that it's okay to believe in something that you can't look up on the internet, or you can't read in a book or put your finger on.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, they become more whole during this evolution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting to see the difference between Rita and Norman as a couple and Shane and Oliver. Like, it's an interesting, I feel like, contrast between the two couples.
Yeah, and I think it's a great counterpoint, because we have to have a relationship that is, in terms of the odds, been more successful and rewarding. They're certainly a number of steps ahead of them. They are a much more likely quirky couple, as opposed to Shane and Oliver, who are a much more unlikely couple, but you still feel satisfied with the journey and the results, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So To the Altar was that must have been really fun, like on so many levels, to film that movie.
It really was. I'm just a music worshiper, and having Kev Mo back was so exciting to me. I just think he's one of those people that seems a little more than human because of his ability to express himself the way that he does, and it's just a joy to be around. And Gregory Harrison has been probably my favorite television dad of my entire career, and his presence is really, when he's not there, it's sorely missed, and when it is there, everyone's just a little bit more calm and happy, and he's the resident dad. He really is. He just makes you feel like everything is going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And having Barry back, who is just his comic timing is impeccable, and his wit, although it seems broad at times, is probably among the driest I've ever come across. So it's really, he's one of those, he is a bit of a genius, because you can't tell what he's thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
He could be joking with you, and he could really be trying to pull one over at the same time.
Yeah. I loved the whole scene with Norman and Oliver talking about going to the movies. That was so sweet.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I was saying, I think I was doing an interview last week about it, and it's sort of, Martha writes, because we're on Hallmark, Martha writes as if we were in such a skillful way when the Hollywood moral code was really first enacted, where innuendo wasn't allowed, and things were, much more uptight, but it created some of the great comedy banter duos of that century, with Claudette Colbert and Clark Gable and Cary Grant and Kate Hepburn, all those, not to compare us to that, but there's just such great banter back and forth, and that scene, you could see a scene like that was between Norman and Oliver, like that one you're talking about specifically, in that era, and at the same time it's completely relevant today. How do you talk about issues of inadequacy and address bedroom talk and insecurity in a way that is delicate but also respectful? I just think it's funny. I mean, first and foremost, it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the show does so well. We talked to Crystal a couple last week, and that's what we were talking about with her, that it does have all these deeper themes of faith and stuff, but it's also a really funny show, which is pretty remarkable to do.
Yeah, it's really great. We've tried to. I think that's great because we're working with Martha. Martha created Touched by an Angel and Promised Land and a number of really top-notch event television, and the fact that we get to go to work with her on each of these movies, it's a pretty wonderful thing. And all the people that she brings with her, that we've gotten to work with, Carol Burnett and Valerie Harper and Valerie Bertinelli and Mary Lou Henner and Gregory Harrison and Kev Mo and Harry Bostwick, it's because of her that these people come to the show and her writing.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you had a guest star who you mentioned a bunch there that was particularly memorable. But yeah, Carol Burnett, Valerie Harper.
Carol. I grew up. My parents worshipped her show there was something it was so zany, but also there was so much heart in what she was doing. And, you know, Lucille Ball, of course, was really the pioneer, but I felt like Carol, you know, picked up the torch and really ran with it and was, you know, really pushed the door wide open for women in comedy and such brilliant characterizations. Her comic timing and her presence haven't diminished. Oh, I think we had a birthday cake for her on her 84th or 85th birthday when we were shooting a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's just remarkable.
Yeah. Was that really fun with the whole green tie thing? That was like classic, I thought, romantic, old school, old fashioned romance.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was so wonderful. And the fact that it's really funny. I don't remember. That's what's great. Kevin Fair, our director for most of these, I have so much faith in him. I don't really overthink the things that I do. And I don't remember making those choices for that scene with the tie, but I love that Oliver, I'm surprised when I watch, like, I love how excited Oliver was with talking about family tradition. I realized that there's such importance for him, that kind of ritual, even though it's not by blood, that it's become his narrative, the narrative that he's adopted, and it's one that obviously he approves of and
right.
likes to take care of.
Well, he had all that time contemplating, and so I guess he decided that it was going to be good.
Yeah. Because, I mean, and it's so great that Martha writes that right on the line. You're not sure if he's going to say, let's stop seeing each other.
Right.
You know, like, he saw her in the dress, and was that something that he wasn't ready for? And did she push him away in that? And you know, the fact that we are so satisfied by the delivery of a proposal. And even though we're kind of thinking it's going to happen, the way that Martha takes you down this other path and then ends up back on track, it's just, the journey is so rewarding in each of these movies that we do. I think as an audience member, I love being able to separate myself from the performance and what I know is going to happen. I'm always surprised when I do watch. And that's a hard process for me because I'm really self-critical. So. Yeah,
I'm sure. When I saw the green tie, I literally like squealed audibly. I was like, "Oh!" I was so excited.
So great.
Well, we hope there'll be more. We really do. We are just trying our best to get more. And I know the Postables really want more movies, but if it had to go, if it is, it was a great one, but hopefully not. So we will see what happens. But thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. I really had a great time talking with you.
Thank you so much for your questions and your time. That was fun.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get to do this after the next movie.
Yes, anytime. And let's get that How to Fall in Love too.
Okay. Just start tweeting Bart. We'll write it.
Okay.
I promise.
We will. Okay. Do you have any social media that you want to share?
I'm on Twitter. Absolutely. Sure. It's Eric_Mabius. And we tweet like crazy constantly about the show because everyone's doing weekly rewatches of previous movies. There's a lot. I actually just finished a movie that'll be out next year playing the disgraced NBA ref Tim Donaghy, which is a lot of fun and a completely different character than I've played in the past.
Cool. Well, great.
And I'm actually developing another series of movies for Hallmark that we should start shooting this fall. So there'll be more.
Oh, that's great.
To be on Hallmark. Yeah.
That's
completely different kind of character too.
Ooh. Oh, good.
Small town sheriff.
Oh,
town sheriff. Yeah, that'll be good.
We'll keep us posted for sure on that. We'll definitely. And
Absolutely.
You can come on anytime you want onto the podcast. And thanks again. And have a great rest of your summer. And we'll look forward to more movies.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
really like to thank Eric for his time. It was so much fun to get to talk to him. And you can follow me at Rachel's Reviews on iTunes and on YouTube. And make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod on Instagram and Twitter and all over social media. And please put in your reviews on iTunes for the podcast. We really appreciate it, because the more reviews we have, the more people will find us. So thanks again to Eric, and hope you all have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.